going to move quickly now into our next panel, and I'm not going to do a long introduction of Ed Cole because most of you all know that he's one of the greatest public servants we've had in Tennessee for the last 30 years, and you know he's been at TDEC, he's been at TDOT, he's been at Cumberland Region tomorrow, and thank God he's now at Transit Alliance. Ed?
Thank you, Charles. It's a privilege at this moment to dig a little deeper into the subject of transportation and regional planning. Commissioner Schroer has laid a good foundation for that, and in particular with that succinct mission emphasizing multimodal transportation. The panel that we now have consists of 4 of our mayors. And I just have to say something, and I hope I don't go too far. Charles. But having looked at regions and been a part of regions across the country, the political problem that many regions face is drawing the elected officials and the mayors into the dialogue about regionalism and about economic development, transportation, and all the components of quality of life. Meetings like this are held, and then the challenge is to get with the mayors and the commissioners and the council members and bring them in. Please understand, and I think most of you do, it's just the opposite in Middle Tennessee. It's just the opposite. The mayors, through the Mayor's Caucus, which we'll talk about in a moment, their involvement with 2 MPOs, the Nashville and the Clarksville MPOs, the RTA, the Greater Nashville Regional Council, the mayors are actively engaged in regional thinking. And I guess I would say, without a lot of hesitation, I think the mayors are pushing us. I think our elected officials are pushing us into the conversation that has been so exciting here today and that we've had in previous Power of 10 summits. So it's very appropriate, and I think very much a part of getting pushed to have 4 of our mayors from our region with us. Earlier today, as a part of this engagement and this push, the Mayor's Caucus met. And the topic of the Mayor's Caucus earlier today was tourism, focusing on a broad strategy of tourism. We had an incredible presentation by Commissioner Susan Whitaker, who has been here and stayed with us. That shows the kind of commitment. And then we had an inside look at the upcoming CMA Music Fest and what it means here in Nashville, and by that meaning this entire region. That's the level of involvement that we've had. They then ate a quick lunch and rushed over here to be a part of this. And that, I think, is testimony to the quality of leadership. Earlier, Matt Gallivan made the comment about economic development and the important role that transportation plays in it. James Chavez made that statement as a part of his conversation on the earlier panel. I think it goes without saying that an ingredient in the economic development of our region, meaning the quality of life and prosperity of our region, is our transportation investment. So to talk about that, we have 4 mayors who are with us very briefly, and we'll try to get right into the discussion and not spend too much time on resumes, but I feel like I would say a couple of words. First is Mayor Carl Dean. Mayor Dean is in his 2nd term as the mayor of metropolitan Nashville-Davidson County. Mayor Dean has been instrumental in pursuing the regional dialogue. I think it was mentioned earlier, I think it was James Chavez that made the statement, when Mayor Dean goes out and speaks, he doesn't use Nashville, he uses Middle Tennessee and this region as the draw for economic investment here. Personal note, my grandson was at a public event not long ago that Mayor Dean was unveiling an object. And afterwards, I was talking with my grandson, and he said, "Granddad, you know, Mayor Dean seems to be a person that doesn't talk a lot, he just expects it to get done." And I thought that was a very good observation of Mayor Carl Dean. So we'll be having Mayor Dean, who doesn't talk a lot, but he talks well, but most importantly, expects us to get it done, and that's a part of this regional challenge. Second, next to Mayor Dean is Mayor Joanne Graves. Mayor Graves was first elected as mayor of Gallatin in 2006 and then re-elected again in November of 2010. Mayor Graves has served as the chair of the Mayor's Caucus and has served and is serving as chair of the Regional Transportation Authority. There are not words to describe to you her leadership. Let me take a personal note here. As a state bureaucrat working in 2 different departments, as Charles mentioned, I had those uneasy moments of navigating the legislature. The one person that I knew I could go to, and this is before Mayor Graves was elected mayor, she was in the state Senate, I knew there was one person I could go to understand the dynamics of an issue or who to talk to, and it was then Senator Graves. And in many ways, that guide, that leadership, that personal, I'm going to sit down and talk with you approach is the way Mayor Graves has approached regional development in her leadership of the Mayor's Caucus and of the RTA. So we are delighted to have Mayor Graves as a part of our panel. Thank you. Commissioner Schroer now knows that Mayor Moore is in the room. Mayor Ken Moore is the mayor of Franklin and is serving in his first, I guess technically first elected term. He was appointed when Commissioner Schroer became TDOT commissioner. I had the opportunity to be a classmate with then Alderman Moore as a part of Leadership Middle Tennessee and got to know him. He has, can I make this announcement now? I think I can make the announcement? Yes. Mayor Moore has just been elected the new chair of the Mayor's Caucus of Middle Tennessee. And my personal comment about Mayor Moore is some of you may know, he's a physician. And immediately there are thoughts, well, it's about the politics of healthcare. No, I look at his being a physician in the way he looks at leadership and at governing, and particularly this area of transportation, and that's in a holistic way. I think we all know that those physicians that understand the holistic nature of how we operate physically and socially and psychologically tend to have a better sense of what we need and how they can be encouraging and helpful. And Mayor Moore is that kind of elected official in our region, so we're delighted to have Mayor Moore present. And our 4th panelist is Mayor Howard Bradley, the mayor of Robertson County. What can we say? He is always there. He understands regionalism in a very, very powerful way, and in particular helps us understand that regionalism is not just about a metropolitan Nashville or a large Murfreesboro or a large Clarksville, but it's also about those places that are in between, and we'll talk more about that, about Robertson County, between Montgomery County and Davidson County, about the Springfields and the Cross Plains and the Adams of the world, and does that in a way, if you've ever walked down the streets of Springfield, and probably most of you haven't had that opportunity, I have, and watched the way that people greet Mayor Bradley, it's an experience. It's an incredibly enriching experience. Personal observation, I have to say this, the same grandson, being the Commissioner Whitaker, he's a great tourist advocate, and he said, you've got to come to the Thresherman's Festival up in Adams, Tennessee. If you haven't ever been to the Thresherman's Festival, you've got to go. So it took, at that time our grandson was 6, so we went up there, and lo and behold, here comes the sheriff's car, and out steps the mayor, and all of this kind of thing. And my grandson, Owen, said, Granddad, is he in charge of all this? And the mayor was within earshot, so I thought, yeah, I better say yes, because it was going very well. And I said, well, yes, he is. He said, well, he knows how to get things done. So just kind of like with Mayor Dean, I think younger people have a way of seeing the truth of people, and Mayor Howard Bradley gets things done in a very, very significant way in Robertson County. So with those words of introduction, I'd like to just jump right in, and our format will be to ask questions. We'll have a question for each panelist, and then if there's any interaction you all want to have as we go on, or you want to jump in, whatever, we'll treat this very informally. So I think it would be appropriate, since Mayor Graves, you've been the chair of the Mayor's Caucus and our chair of the RTA, maybe talk a little bit about the Mayor's Caucus, what it is, how it works, and then probably talk about transportation and the attention that caucus has given to transportation and why you think this attention has been what it has been.
Thank you, Ed. I have been chair of the Mayor's Caucus for 2 years, and let me tell you, it's been probably one of the most rewarding experiences I've had in a long time, because it's been an opportunity for all of us to really get to know one another. Too often we're in meetings and we just pass back and forth, and 5, 10 minutes in, 5, 10 minutes out. But we don't have the opportunity to really talk about issues that are common to all of us and to brainstorm about what solutions we might be able to come up with that all of us can embrace. We're a bipartisan group, and I will tell you, I think we set the example, and I wish everybody could follow the lead of the Mayor's Caucus, because we work together on issues that we believe need to be resolved for the good of the people that we represent. And I will tell you that the people in Middle Tennessee have a lot to be proud of, and that your lives are better because of the quality of the mayors that sit on that body, and the fact that they put the people first and their party second, and I appreciate that. We spend an inordinate amount of time talking about transportation because it probably is the issue that binds us the most. We are all about our communities and our future. And I'm going to talk a little bit about not just transportation, but the need for mass transit. And that's something we've been talking about for 2 years, and we will continue to talk about. The need for mass transit is a multifaceted issue. I could not sit here and tell you it's just one driver. There are several drivers that make mass transit important to us. And so I've incorporated those things into an acronym, and some of you may have heard me speak about this before. But I talk about mass transit is important because of HER. And the HER stands for, number one, mass transit is important. You heard Commissioner Schwar talk about congestion. When cars are sitting in traffic, they're spewing pollutants into the air. Our air quality, many times, is not at the EPA levels, and we have to get into attainment. Asthma is on the increase in this country. 1 in 5 children has asthma today. So health is a big issue in mass transit. If we can take cars off the road and we can move people in a mass, large volume way, we can reduce the pollutants that are in the air, and our quality of life goes up. Denver, when they instituted a mass transit system, has an issue with air quality. While they needed to move people on a large volume, they also needed to do things to improve air quality. We need to learn from that, and we need to continue to push this issue forward. The E has to do with economics. We need to be able to move our workforce in an efficient and effective manner. You heard a panel earlier talk about we could be down 40,000 jobs in the next couple of decades. We need to be able to attract people here. Gasoline prices are going up. We need to be able to have affordable ways to move our workforce. Mass transit addresses that. It allows us to move people in an efficient and effective manner, and it allows them to keep their transportation costs down. It was either last year or the year before this, I believe it was Governor Glendening was here, and he talked about there was a correlation between transportation costs and foreclosures. We need our workforce to be able to live wherever they want to live, whether it's in Montgomery or Sumner or Rutherford or Williamson, wherever. But they can only do that if they can go to where the jobs are and they can still afford their house payment and their food and their children's well-being. So we need to be aware of the economics of this issue. The first R is for regulation. We're not in attainment frequently, at least Sumner County isn't. Some of you may be in counties that are, but we're not. And we've had to work very hard to get down into attainment, and every time we get in attainment, EPA steps up, they lower the rate again. If we don't get into attainment, then we have regulation, and there's a cost to regulation, and we pass that cost on to everybody that's in our area. So we need to be concerned about the cost of regulation. And those three things, health, economics, and regulation, play into our ability to recruit. If I'm an industry and I want to come to Middle Tennessee, I want to know that I've got clean air to breathe. I want to know that people can travel to my industry or my business. And I want to know that the cost of regulation is low. So mass transit is a multifaceted issue, and somebody a minute ago used the word holistic, and it is the way we need to look at mass transit. So I would encourage all of you to be involved in this issue of mass transit and help us continue to forge solutions and support mass transit, because it means you have to give your cars up and you have to think in a different way. But the people in Sumner County who are riding express buses or van pools, they use that time. They use that time to work on their laptops, they might work on their iPads, and they're able to get things done while they're in transit so that when they get home, they have time for their families. It's a big issue for us, and I think all of us agree that it's something that's going to be at the forefront for many years to come.
Thank you, Mayor Graves. Building really on Mayor Graves' comments, Mayor Moore, when the mayors get together, this is kind of a little inside view maybe, and talk about transportation, what do you all talk about, think about, but probably most important, where is this conversation headed in terms of actions that we're likely to be a part of in the months and years ahead?
Oh, thank you, Ed. I think the first important point to make is that we are talking. And there was a point in time where we weren't talking and collaborating and talking about the issues that we all have in common. I think we all have a vision for what or a comprehensive regional vision in our minds, what our region should be. But I think at the same time, we all believe that our vision for our region cannot be obtained if we don't have a modern and efficient transportation system. We also talk about what scares us. And the things that scare us are probably the things that you'll say, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. But it scares me to think of the population growth that we're going to experience in this region over the next 25 years. And it scares me to think about the number of jobs that we're projected to create over the next 20 years. And it really scares me that we're not ready with a modern transportation system. So we do talk about those concepts. We talk about how we develop the case to present to our constituents and why it is important for us to start considering this now and why there is some urgency to it. We delve into the issue and try to dissect it and find out the intricacies of the problem, and then we discuss with each other how can we build support for this in our region so that we can move forward on some type of option in the future. And of course we review the options and we talk about whether it's light rail, train, bus rapid transit, van pools, discuss the things that we're finding that are successful now, and then ultimately we have to talk about, is there a funding mechanism for this? What have other communities done? What are our competitors doing? You know, our competitors are Charlotte, North Carolina, Raleigh, Durham, Austin, Texas, Denver, Colorado. You know, how did they work it out? And so we need to look at them, how they did it, you know, what were the mistakes that they made, and what were the positive attributes that they found going forward. And we share those things and try to educate ourselves.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor Bradley, you are the only county mayor, other than Mayor Dean, who is a metropolitan mayor. You're the county mayor representing a county in our 10-county region. What are the unique perspectives that you feel that a county view of this requires? And also maybe talk a little bit about Robertson County and where you're located in this whole conversation.
Thank you, Ed. First of all, Robertson County is immediately due north of Davidson County. In fact, Springfield is 30 miles north and about a 35-minute drive in the right traffic conditions. 72% of our people commute outside the county. and the vast majority of them coming into Davidson County. And the only county that I know that probably exceeds that number is neighboring Cheatham County. They have about 82% that do that. So we have some unique transportational needs. In January of last year, through the RTA, we did introduce bus service. It's the Express, the Springfield Joelton Express, and it has been very successful. We have 2 buses in the afternoon, in the morning, and 2 in the afternoon, and ridership has risen throughout the time. And I think once we get people on the bus, they have a very positive experience. By the time you get through the morning paper, you're there. And but getting them on the bus the first time is a challenge now. I think as fuel prices have increased, we know that there's a great correlation between the increase in fuel prices and ridership on all forms of mass transit. But this is a slow and laborious process. I was an RTA member for 9 years, laboring in the vineyards before we finally produced a bus service from Springfield to Nashville, but it was well worth that effort. We need to be doing more in terms of promoting carpooling, making people aware of each other's schedules so they can do that as a group, and I think once again advancing fuel prices make that much more likely to happen. But Robertson County, I think, is an interesting community in the fact of its diversity. Increasingly, we see our urbanization from Springfield south. It is important that we keep the open lands viable for agriculture, and agriculture is worth $100 million in our county, so it's by far our leading industry, and we have some very large industries there, including Electrolux and Johnson Electric and Martin Ray Fabco and so forth, but agriculture is still number one, and we hope to keep it that way and keep it viable. But once again, our people are commuting to Davidson County. I think that one statistic makes it essential that Robertson County be admitted into the MPO. City of Springfield currently is a member. We are not, and I think the contiguous counties certainly should be, because those are where those transportation decisions are made. And I was thinking when Commissioner Shore was talking, the last funded TDOT project in Robertson County was 1988. I had thick red hair in 1988. So it's been a while, Commissioner Shore. But we need to be part of that process, and you're only part of the process by being part of the table. But I think those are the circumstances that are unique to our community.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope you all realize what just happened. To make the point earlier, Mayor Bradley just campaigned in front of us to have Robertson County brought into the MPO. He was campaigning for us.
Amen. Amen.
Well, Mayor Bradley mentioned the new service that was offered and very successfully offered between Springfield and Joelton and downtown Nashville. Another huge new service is in the planning phase, in very realistic planning phase. Paul Ballard from the RTA MTA is sitting down in front and very much a part of that effort. And it's called the East-West Connector, which is a project that will be connecting East Nashville with the western parts of the Broadway West End corridor. So Mayor Dean, I think a question in this audience would be that project will have major impacts on Nashville and people that actually live and work on the corridor right now. Can you talk a little bit about the regional impact of the East-West Connector and what that might mean for our region as it's completed in less than 3 years?
Yeah, well, basically what the East-West Connector is, it's a bus rapid transit system that would run from 5 points in East Nashville out to close to the White Bridge Road area in West Nashville, and would go through the center of the city, and most of it would run along West End Avenue. The BRT would run on a dedicated lane, so it would mean that would be buses only in that lane. So the argument I would make to folks is that you could get from, if you're going to a Vanderbilt basketball game, you could get downtown at rush hour, get up to Vanderbilt from downtown at rush hour faster on the bus than you could do it in a car. And the buses will be, these attractive hybrid buses, and we'll move into the best environmental buses we can have over time. They will have enhanced stops where you will actually be getting your ticket or swiping your card before you enter the bus so that there's no delay. The buses will also have the ability to extend the green light so you get through the green light faster, and will make fewer stops. The idea is that we picked bus rapid transit over a streetcar for a variety of reasons, and the two most important are that our consultants told us that the ridership for streetcars versus the BRT, it would be just about exactly the same, no difference. And the other reason is that it will be about $140 million cheaper, which is a darn good reason for us to do that. So the impact on Nashville, obviously, the 5 Points area, downtown, West End, is a dynamic area economically. There's still room for growth. There's still room for economic development. There's increasing residential density, and we believe it will work perfectly there. But how it will work with the rest of the region is that if you have a rider who's taking an RTA express bus into Nashville, and the RTA express buses, their ridership has increased about 55% over the past year. Someone who works at Vanderbilt who lives in Gallatin could take the Gallatin-Hendersonville express bus into Nashville any weekday. They would be dropped off at 21st and West End. They would be right near the medical facility and go in to do their job. But while they're there during the day, they would not be trapped there. They would have access to the bus rapid transit that could take them any point along that route very conveniently and very swiftly to have lunch or to go to other meetings. What it does in essence is it opens up the city to anybody who travels into the city either by the train, which has seen a dramatic increase in ridership also, or by the express buses into the city, makes the entire West End corridor going into East Nashville easily available, and makes a visit to Nashville that much more pleasant.
Great. So exciting. Stay tuned. That project, as the mayor points out, very dynamic, very new, and it's moving on a very, very fast track. I think I could share, Mayor Dean has said, I don't want to be the past mayor invited to the ribbon cutting. I would like to be the mayor. And Paul is down here now. I can see the sweat forming again on his brow. We have just a couple minutes, I think maybe 2 or 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Let me just toss out one question that seems so appropriate toward the end of this day. How do you all, anyone here, how do you feel that the people that you represent, the constituents of your city or county, where are they in thinking about regional issues and economic development? Is our job one of education? Is it one of talking in terms that people can understand? Is it one of being a cheering section? Where do you think a lot of people, and I know we have a very diverse region, so.
Ed, I think they're already there. I think the politicians are conscious of county lines and city limits. Our people live in one county, work in another, worship in another, shop in another. Those lines are totally arbitrary. I think they're there, and I think they are leading us to get there with them.
If I may, one of our visioning groups, Franklin DeMar, recently had a series of visioning sessions over several months period of time, and they visioned in 9 different categories. And of those 9 categories, 4 made mention of greenway and open space. And so that was the top vision for our community, was to be a more walkable community. And we have plans, and we have various phases of that completed, but I think our community is looking to be more active, more mobile. Certainly the fact that we're a victim of sprawl creates some challenges, and we'll have to figure that out.
I kind of agree with what Mayor Bradley was saying. You know, Gallatin and Hendersonville currently share an express bus, and we've had 2 buses. Our ridership's been so high, we had to add a 3rd bus in the afternoon. Plans going forward are now to split Hendersonville and Gallatin. Hendersonville will have their own buses, and Gallatin will have their own buses. So I think it goes back to what Mayor Bradley said. people want mass transit. They want those opportunities. I think a little bit of if you build it, they will come. I know when we first started talking about mass transit, I heard some people just say, oh, nobody will ride that. You know, that just won't happen, the naysayers. And then it was built, and our ridership is just out the roof. So it's really exciting to see how many people want to be able to ride mass transit. If we can make it affordable and we can make it convenient for them, I think people will take advantage of it.
Yeah, we've seen in Nashville, a dramatic increase in use of the MTA, and I try to ride the bus to work a few times a week, and I love it. I mean, it's number one, it is very friendly. It's much more relaxing than driving. The bus service itself is excellent, and the buses are all very, very comfortable. And I get to work, and I'm actually in a better mood when I take the bus than any other time, because I get off at TPAC, walk down Dedrick Street, which is beautiful, and then go into work, and I just feel it's the right way to start the day. And Paul Ballard and I do these every few weeks. We ride a bus together in a different part of the city from where I live, so I get that experience. And I had a great experience about a month ago when Paul and I went up to Goodlettsville, and we rode the express bus in from Rivergate Mall. And, you get on the bus. It was a double hybrid articulated bus, really comfortable new bus. And it fills up. All these folks are parking at Rivergate Mall and going downtown to work. Most of the people were state workers, Metro workers, and Vanderbilt employees. All of them have passes, and every employer should give them passes for their employees. And you get on the bus and you get on the interstate, and it takes you directly to downtown. And then it takes you to Vanderbilt if that's where you're going. And everybody was reading, which is a great thing too. And everybody was happy and friendly and knew each other. It was like a 7 a.m. party. It was really wonderful.
What a great note. Thank you to these 4 mayors and all of our mayors that are here.